If you're wondering what are the best troops to put in your defense in Clan Castle, well, you're in luck. Today we're going to talk about just that. I've got this tier list here, and we're going to talk about what are the best troops for all Town Hall levels. Now, a lot of thought, experience, and some testing went into making this list, so if you guys do disagree or you agree with the tier list, let me know down in the comments below. Definitely let me know if you think that there's something that wasn't included here that should have been, because this tier list is only going to have troops on it that I think could be used in a defensive clan castle. I excluded anything that I think is going to be completely useless on defense, like wall breakers, P.E.K.K.A.s, etc. Alright, and with that, let's get into it. Alright, so let's take a look at the F tier here. Now, these are troops that can be used, but probably not your best options. And also keep in mind that these troops are in order in the tiers. So the ones on the left are better, and then the ones on the far right are the worst ones of that tier. Now you see the Super Dragon on the very far right. I was actually considering not including that one at all. Not a good defensive troop. Now let's take a look at these clips here. You see the E-Dragon and the regular Dragon are going to be coming in. The Queen can handle these pretty well with just a poison spell. The E-Dragon does not even get a shot off, and that's even with the Queen getting shots onto the Dragon first. And then we're going to have the next clip coming up here as well. You can see the Queen also handling the Super Dragon pretty well. Now, one thing to note about these troops in F tier, all these troops, if you are Town Hall 13 or higher, don't use these. Pretend they're not on the tier list. These are really only going to be helpful if you are Town Hall 12 or lower. So if you're at those levels, you can consider mixing these in, using them. They could be somewhat helpful if you're higher. The thing is, the heroes, like especially the Queen, the troops, they get to be where they're doing so much damage that these troops are just too slow and not hard hitting enough to really be an effective defense. The E-Dragon often doesn't even get a shot off, especially under poison. If it gets poisoned, pretty much anything can take it out before it gets a shot off. Alright, next up, let's take a look at the E tier. Now we have a few things in here. We got some filler troops, which are the minions and the balloons. And then we got one here that people may disagree with me on, and that is the Super Miner. But yes, there are situations where the Super Miner can be OP. It's just really rare. Let's take a look at this replay here. Here's an example of the Queen taking on a couple of Super Miners. As you can see, the Queen's ability does get forced, which that can absolutely happen. But in reality, it doesn't often, because usually there are spells involved. You can use a poison. I have found that the poison slows the miners down enough that she can usually kill one before it's in range where the bomb hits her. The other thing is, Queen's usually going to be under rage when the attacker sees, hey, there's super miners coming out. And then that rage is going to completely negate those blasts. So, also, really quickly, if you guys do enjoy this video, please do click subscribe down below. It helps me out a ton. Let's keep going. Alright, here we go with D tier, and this is where I put the Witches and the Valkyrie. And this is going to be very similar to F tier, where these are going to be much more helpful for lower Town Hall levels. So if you're again in that like Town Hall 12 and lower range, these are going to be tremendous troops for you. However, unlike F tier, these are still going to be usable filler troops for higher Town Hall levels. And Witches, again, extremely situational, but once in a while they can be a dangerous CC troop. But we don't really ever see it happen. However, it is still an option to use. So let's take a look here. We're going to have the Queen taking on some Valkyries and Witches out of the CC. And you see she's going to be able to handle that fairly easily here with just the poison spell. And that's the main counter for the Witches. So you kind of have to get an attacker who's not using a poison or who's dropping a poison in the wrong spot and misses the Witches. That's where the Witches can really shine. Kind of the same thing for the Valkyries. If they get loose, they can sometimes chunk some damage. Maybe somebody runs a hybrid and they don't deal with the CC with the Queen. Valkyries can do a lot of damage to some hybrid troops, you know, situations like that. Alright, we're starting to get up into the better tiers. Here we go into the C tier. So in this tier we have the rest of the filler troops. And again, I did say they are the better ones on the left to the right. So first of all, we have the Inferno Dragon. Now initially, when I first put this tier together, I put the Inferno Dragon in E tier. But after doing some testing with it and getting the clips for this video, I moved it up, because if the Queen's distracted, that Inferno Dragon is a bit of a nuisance, because I needed to invest freezes to keep the Queen's ability from going off. As you can see, we have to use the poison and the freeze to keep the Inferno Dragons from taking out that Queen's ability. So yeah, I do think that maybe the Inferno Dragon in general in the competitive scenes may be a bit underrated. And certainly in lower Town Hall levels, we were using it a lot more. We were using it more at Town Hall 14, a lot more at Town Hall 13. So definitely consider the Inferno Dragon. Now for the spam troops, I've got Goblin, Archer, and Barbarian. So these are just filler troops, obviously. The reason I like the Goblins the most is because they're speedy. You can take advantage of their speed, sometimes trick, or at least try to trick players into dropping their poison in the wrong spot, because the Goblins will run out ahead of a lot of the other troops and kind of get the attention that way. The Archers, I like them second because they're air targeting. So obviously if you got an air attack coming in, whereas ground troops wouldn't pull, like Barbarians or Goblins, Archers would always come out. And then the Barbarians, if you want to use them, they are just a bit more tanky. So next up we have B tier, and this is going to be the Ice Hound and the Golem. Now both of these troops are going to be more for time consuming. So you have your damage CC and your non-damage CC. These are going to be non-damage CC, and the purpose of them is to just take a lot of the time off of the clock. Now we're going to talk about both of these, but the interesting one is the Golem. This is another one where I initially started it at a much lower tier, but with some testing I've actually moved it up. So one max out Golem plus one Ice Golem in a Town Hall 15 clan castle actually took 26 seconds for the Queen to completely get rid of with the help of a poison. And that ended up being the most out of any other troops that I tested for this video, which I thought was really interesting. Now you could also pair up some damage with the Golem, maybe get some headhunters in there. If you're Town Hall 15, if you're lower, you might not have the extra space, but the Golem is a good way to take up a lot of the attacker's time. And it's kind of the same thing for the Ice Hound that you see here, except the Ice Hound was surprisingly fast to get rid of completely with the help of a poison. It did only take 19 seconds for the Queen and poison to take out a maxed out Ice Hound. However, you do get the benefit of the freeze, which we did account for in that 19 seconds. You also get the benefit of the pups. If they can get away from the poison, or if the attacker doesn't have a poison, those pups will continue to slow down whatever targets they're hitting. So if they're shooting the Queen's going to continue to shoot back slower. Alright, now we're going to move up to the next one. We do have the A tier up next. So I put the Rocket Loons here. They are a great filler troop. They're speedy, they can hit hard, and they take the attention away from whatever else is in the clan castle. And we've got the Lava Hound here, and I'll explain why it's in the position it's in. Now, if we were still in Town Hall 14 time, this would be an S tier CC troop. We've seen Lava Hounds everywhere, but the reason it's moved it down from S tier, at least in my opinion, is the introduction of the Electro Titan. Now, the Electro Titan on offense is a hard counter to the Lava Hound. She takes it down super quickly, and she evaporates the lava pups. We did pair up the Lava Hound with an Ice Golem to see how long it would take. As you see here, it actually did take 26 seconds. I think it was just a tiny bit slower than the Golem with an Ice Golem. So a little bit of a difference there, but the reason that the Lava Hound is going to be higher up is when the Hound pops, we get all these pups, and those pups can do a lot of damage, especially if there's no poison there to help take them down. And the reason that I would put the Lava Hound over top of the Ice Hound is because the housing space. Obviously, the Lava Hound is lower housing space, so you get more space to work with. You could put other troops in there. You could put the, well, it depends on your Town Hall level, but if you got the higher clan castles, you can put in an Ice Golem. You can put in headhunters. Even if you're a lower Town Hall level, you still have room to work with as long as you're Town Hall 10 or higher. So that's what I like also about the Lava Hound. You get a lot more flexibility to what you put in there with it. You can even just put in a bunch of archers, and that's actually going to take a little extra time as well to get through all the archers and the Lava Hound. So definitely some good options there. All right, and here we go. The big reveal, the S tier, the best of the best. We got the super minions, the headhunters, the Electro Titans, and the Ice Golems. Now let's go through all of these one by one. So we're going to start off with the super minions, and here is a replay of some super minions on a queen charge. So super minions, you can pair them up with rocket balloons, you can pair them up with headhunters. Here's an example with headhunters. We'll take a look at rocket balloons in a second, and the purpose of these is to do damage. Of course, headhunters go out for the heroes. Super minions stay back and fire their long shots. And when you pair them up with the rocket balloons, like in this example, the rocket balloons can shoot way out in front, and often that even triggers the attacker to drop the poison in the wrong spot, meaning the super minions don't get poisoned. They're able to keep firing their shots, and this can be deadly to a queen charge. Next up, we have the Electro Titans. Now, I know this is a bit more restrictive because of her housing space, but she is really great, especially against the new meta where we have lots of Blizzard, lots of Super Archer Blimp. We'll take a look at an example right here. We've seen this so many times on live streams as well, which, by the way, if you're not following the live stream, be sure to check that out. Twitch link down in the description below. But in any case, when the Electro Titan comes out against those blimps, she just devastates the attack. She takes out the Super Archers, takes out the Super Wizards. Now, not only that, but she's also super effective against pretty much any other kind of attack. She just deals so much damage. Not only that, but when she is on defense and she's doing that damage with her aura, if she is frozen, if she's poisoned, that aura damage does the same amount of damage constantly. So she's always doing damage until she's gone. And that's something you can't say about any other troop in the game. So I've been really impressed with the Electro Titan on defense. All right, finally, let's talk about the troop that I have in that number 1 spot, the Ice Golem. If you've watched any competitive matches lately, you're going to see like 90% of the clan castles these days are just Ice Golem, Ice Golem, Ice Golem. And there's a reason for that. So the Ice Golem is to slow things down. You can put 3 of them in if you have 45 space in your CC. If you're lower, you can still usually fit 2, I think all the way down to Town Hall 9, yeah, the 30 housing space. So at all levels, this is a good way to slow down your attacker. Now, I did take on the Ice Golems, and I was kind of surprised at how fast they actually went down. So it is very interesting here. So in this clip, you can see the Queen taking on the Ice Golems. It only took her 23 seconds to get through all 3 Ice Golems. So that's 3 seconds slower than the Golem Ice Golem combination or the Lava Hound Ice Golem combination. But we'll also mention here that the Ice Golem is a great filler troop as well. Just put 1 in and fill it up with a bunch of other stuff. It's also very handy. But anyway, back to why the triple Ice Golem could still be better than those other combinations, even though it doesn't slow things down quite as long, and it's going to be the freeze effect. But the Ice Golem can freeze the healers if the Queen is in the right position. And if the healers get frozen, the Queen loses her healing. Now on the outside of the base, maybe not as helpful, but if the Queen gets inside the base before she deals with the CC, that could be completely devastating. That could shut down a Queen charge. That could shut down a lot of attacks. Or say the attacker does a hybrid attack and doesn't account for the clan castle. That triple Ice Golem is going to ruin that hybrid in the middle of the base. So definitely can be a very effective CC, and there's good reason why we see it used by the pro players constantly in the current meta. But that is it. Here is the tier list. Again, let me know what you think of this tier list down in the comments below. And of course, while you're here, be sure to check out my previous video as well. But that is a wrap for this one. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and sticking through to the end. If you did enjoy, hit thumbs up and subscribe to catch the next video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.